Today on the DML News Podcast, we've got some great numbers at the border. Can't wait to celebrate it with you. And, of course, Donald J. Trump taking command of the Russia-Ukraine situation. We've got a lot to go over today, all inspired by the 47report.com. So get ready, because it's all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me today. Across from me is my son Denny. On the controls is my son Ryan. We come to you very proudly every single day here, inspired by 47report.com. 47 Report newsletter is the fastest growing, most impressive newsletter there is for everything Trump and the Trump administration. We are growing leaps and bounds, and I am proud to say that our open rate has gone back over a number that is just like, what? Nobody believes it. An open rate means how many people open up the email. Typically, on average, 20 to 25% is what industry average is. We're now over 60, close to 65%. Everybody is opening it. And the reason being is because the information inside is not only pinpoint accurate, easy to read, and it gives you things that nobody else is reporting on. Nobody else. And the amazing thing about it is that I look at all these other different websites and news agencies, and I say, why is it that they won't report the information to the people? Why is it? We're going to get into that in a second. But 47report.com, all you have to do is you simply go there, you put your email address in, you hit submit, and it's over. I keep the email. Nobody else gets it. We don't sell it. We don't share it. Every morning before 7 a.m., and these days it's really around 5 a.m., you are getting the email in your inbox. It's the first read you have all day, and as far as I'm concerned, you don't have to do anything else for the morning or the afternoon, because we just added yesterday another newsletter called the DML Report. And what that happens is about 4:30, 5 o'clock Eastern Time, you're going to get all the other news, not the stuff pertaining to Trump. We gave that to you already. All the other news that's happening, both in the United States and around the world, things like Make America Healthy Again, stuff specific to immigration, national security, terrorists, all that other different stuff that you would want to know. So this way you can get a grip on what's happening with your country, notwithstanding Mr. Trump. It is a phenomenal thing. You don't have to even go sign up, because by default, once you sign up for 47report.com, it automatically gives it into DMLreport.com. So again, yesterday we launched that, and we are tinkering with it a little bit each day to try to make it a little bit better. You also get things on finance and real estate and just everything. And in fact, I watched my wife yesterday open it up, and the DML report, and she looked through it. She was done in about 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes. I said, you read every single one of those? She goes, yeah. She goes, it's so easy to do. She goes, you guys have perfected this. And we certainly have. Go to 47report.com. All right, so one of the things that we reported on today on 47 Report is a little great thing that happened, and nobody's writing about it. And I can't understand for the life of me why. When caravans are coming up through Mexico, everybody's writing about it. Everybody's writing about it. We got caravans. It's going to be 15,000 people. They're all rushing to the border. Everybody's talking about it. You've got the left is talking about how it is that these people are fleeing such dangerous, terrible lives. And then, of course, you got the right screaming about the fact that these people shouldn't be coming into our country. Donald J. Trump puts excellent people in place. He gets totally tough on the border. He's taking no sideways, I kind of love these people, I'm not sure, nothing. Opening up Guantanamo Bay, deporting people on the price tag of the country that let them come in here, you name it. On Saturday, the Saturday that just passed, I think that was the 22nd? February 22nd, literally encounters at the border from San Diego all the way down to Mission, Texas, 2,000 miles. There were only 200 encounters. 200 for an entire single day. I see more people when I go shopping at Publix. 200 people along 2,000 miles of border. That right there is an accomplishment in of itself. It is a single day, all-time low for the past 15 years. Think about that. For 15 years, we have been taking in a wave of people. And we've all been bitching and moaning about it, or we've all been celebrating it if we're on the left. And in 37 days, Donald J. Trump got the border from 11 to 20,000 a day to a mere 200. And not one single headline on the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, CNN, Fox News for that matter, not a single outlet is reporting this as the major news of the day. And this is why your country is completely upside down and inside out. Thank goodness for Donald J. Trump. And this is why, no joke, this is why Trump asked, I don't remember if you remember it or not. I don't know if you remember it or not, but Trump said, we're going to need all the help we can to fight back against the fake news people. And Fox News is just as fake as everybody else. That's why we write this newsletter. How can this not be the top story? Because if there were 20,000 people coming in right now, that the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and the Chicago Tribune would say, Trump's plans aren't working. It would be the top thing. Nobody wants to report on this man's accomplishments. Nobody. They only want to report on the sky is falling, Trump sucks, this is crazy, the poor federal workers don't have a place to go. 200 people across 2,000 miles. That's the fact. Now, as much as I want to get up right now and start breakdancing on the table because I'm so happy, I am not going to overlook or pretend as if I do not know what still is going on down at that border. Although we have made incredible strides, we still have ourselves a massive problem. You see, I've been doing this border thing for a long time, stemming back to 2008 is when I first picked up a camera and started getting into the nuances of illegal immigration. Back then, the way that you got into this country is that you outran the Border Patrol. That was the way you did it. You got smuggled in, you got snuck in, and you ran like the Dickens. I remember when I was first on Fox News. I think it was 2010. There's a thing called B-roll. I'll explain to you what it is in short. You're watching television, you're watching Fox News, and you got two people talking about the border, and then they cut away from the two talking heads, and then they show Border Patrol agents, and they show the illegals coming over, and all the other different stuff. That's B-roll. The B-roll used to be the same stock footage. A Border Patrol agent running again to go get 4, 5, 10 different people. I worked with the Border Patrol in my second film. I know what I'm talking about when I say that that's the only thing you ever used to get, because it used to be if you could outrun a Border Patrol agent, you had a ticket to America. That all changed. All you needed to do is make a fake asylum claim, and then you were in. Well, the asylum claims aren't working anymore. That garbage has stopped, and that's why you only have 200 people. However, the desire to come to the United States has not changed. The process has. So believe me when I tell you, although we're not seeing the apprehensions and we're not seeing the encounters, we're also not seeing the people who are coming in the middle of the night and going to the places where there is no fence, where there is no Border Patrol agent. Those numbers are going to remain high. In fact, a little birdie told me that the cartels are now charging 3 times the amount that they once charged for every illegal alien to come across, because now it's a much different process. So we still got people coming in, and they're still coming in decent numbers. And so too are the drugs. And here is the litmus test for the drugs. What you have not seen written anywhere is that the price of cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, or weed or any of the other different drugs that come in across the border have skyrocketed in price. They haven't. They're still dirt low, and people are buying them, and they're still getting stoned out of their mind. When we really have that border secured, you will see the price of these street drugs skyrocket because it's called supply and demand. Until that happens, we are in a situation where we cannot get blinded by our own euphoria. We cannot get blinded by the fact that it says 200 people on one single day and think that we've cured this problem. We haven't cured it. We've put a Band-Aid on it. Now we're going to get the sewing kit to put in the stitches. But ultimately, to really get this thing solved, we have to stop it both on the asylum end, which looks like we've done, and we've got to stop it on the smuggling end, which we don't have enough people yet. And we have to keep our eye on the ball. That's my message to the president. That's my message to Congress. That's my message to you. Do not get flowered by my good headlines. It's a great start, but there's a lot of work still left to do. Now, with that said, we're going to cut to a video. New York City has taken an unbelievable amount of illegal aliens over the last couple of years. And that city has been literally destroyed. Anybody who I speak to about the city says there are places where you feel like you're in a third world. We have Mayor Adams now saying that one of the big hotels that had been in New York for pretty much ever is now going to be basically shutting down, and that the illegal alien problem is starting to get itself together.
Today, we are announcing the Roosevelt Hotel, which served as both our asylum arrival center and the humanitarian emergency response and relief center for nearly 2 years, will be closing in the coming months. Thanks to the successful strategies we put in place here in New York City, and because of policies we advocated for at the border. The Roosevelt Hotel was opened in May 2023, during the height of the crisis, with the city receiving an average of 4,000 arrivals each week. Now, thanks to our policies, we're down to an average of just 350 new arrivals each week. And while we're not done caring for those who came into our care, today marks another milestone in demonstrating the immense progress we have achieved in turning the corner on the unprecedented international humanitarian effort. Our administration has skillfully managed this crisis, which has seen over 232,000 migrants enter our city asking for shelter, and the Roosevelt Hotel has been key in allowing us to effectively manage our operation, processing almost 75% of individuals that have come into our care through these doors.
Just hearing him talk makes me miss Rudy Giuliani. Honestly, I really do. You know what? Just because, and I know Mayor Adams served with the NYPD, but I hear him talk. It's great that the migrant shelter is finally closed, but I don't hear any leadership qualities out of him, and it's very clear he is I'll go where the wind blows as long as I'm not getting in trouble. Because let's be honest, would that shelter be closing if Kamala Harris won back in November? It's a classic case of the pressure's been applied. He is clearly in trouble over at the DOJ, and was in trouble. And there's clear indication here that he has to abide by this because he is in charge, or he's the mayor of the largest city in the entire country, and that city has been routinely abused with the bussing in of migrants at such incredible rates or devastating rates. And for him to talk that his policies saved the migrants that were in trouble, the rhetoric is so off base. It shouldn't have been established in the first place, but at least it's over now.
Let me tell you, there was a video not so long ago in the beginning of this when the buses were being diverted to him. Kudos to Governor Abbott for starting that whole process. And he was saying that, the governor was a racist and that New York was welcoming to everybody, illegal or otherwise. Come on in. So when you watch somebody like Adams, not only are you seeing the demented mind of a Democrat, But you're seeing the demented mind of a politician.
Yeah.
As you said, will sway any single way that the wind blows, especially when their ass is on fire. And I think Adams is a prime example. Remember, I said this. This is going to come back. What you're seeing Adams do right now, this complete about face, total, like, wait a second, 3 years ago, you were a completely different guy. You're going to wind up seeing the same sort of attitude throughout this country, throughout Congress, and throughout different states of Democrat politicians who now, with Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, are going to be frightened to the point of where they're going to have night shakes and sweats because they know that these two are coming for them and they are going to reverse their situations and their attitudes very quickly.
Yeah, I'll only give Adams the credit in that he kind of said from the get-go that he would be copacetic to whatever Trump is looking to do with federal immigration law. Whereas, you get Michelle Wu of Boston saying she'll resist, Brandon Johnson that he's going to resist, and his polling numbers just came back. He's got a 6% approval rating. Still makes you wonder why Chicago votes for these people. But, at least he's going in the path of, like, I'm not going to fight Trump on it, but he better stick to that path. If he starts, flip-flopping again,
he ain't going to flip-flop.
He better not.
No, I could tell you right now, when he got his deal from the DOJ, it was a quiet little conversation that doesn't get spoke about, but he was informed right off the bat, you better stay in line. If you don't stay in line, we'll find you for the next thing. But I think it's more interesting, not so much about him, but the about face that we're going to see people take. And, they're given, one of the council members up there in Boston was giving Tom Homan a whole bunch of nonsense, a whole bunch of hard time. And now she's starting to change her topic as well. She was criticizing him in the sense that he was only a Border Patrol agent. He doesn't know what it's like to manage a city. And you start coming down with those kind of words and that kind of rhetoric against this administration. Listen, they're going to give you a certain amount of rope. And if you want to hang yourself with it, they're going to be more than happy to watch you hang. So I'm telling you, you're going to see that stupid moron, James Corville, said that the Trump administration was going to basically implode in the next 30 to 45 days. I would beg to differ. I think in the next 30 to 45 days, you're going to wind up seeing the Democrat Party officially implode and that they have absolutely nothing going for them. And there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be begging and cutting deals that they don't get in trouble, because I can tell you that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are going to sit in there, and it's going to be like a crime scene that you watch on Netflix. And you ever see the crime scenes where they put the pictures up of all the people, right? And they got all the stuff, and all right, here's the head, and here's all the stuff. They're going to have pictures of Democrats up on a wall. And I think Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff are going to sit there as the two top mafia heads, and it's going to be everybody else there, and they are just going to look for things. Remember one thing about what the FBI does. It's kind of pathetic in one sense, but it's the tool that they use, and they've used it against Trump, and they've used it against Paul Manafort and all these other different people. If let's say, for instance, I'll use you for an example, right? Let's say, for instance, I wanted to go after you, and I wanted to go after you for tax invasion, but you never did anything wrong with tax invasion, right? So what am I going to do? All right, I'm going to say he didn't do his taxes and whatever, but ultimately, I'm not going to get you on anything. But I'm going to use that as an excuse to come in. Tax invasion, right away. I need to see all your documentation. And now you're going to be like, you got to be kidding me. And you give over all the documentation. And then somewhere along the line, maybe you took a little loan where you used the wrong address. You used an old address versus a new address, just out of habit or whatever, or default. That happens all the time with your Google, where it just fills in your stuff. And now they're going to get you for bank fraud. So what they do is they set you up for one thing, and then they ultimately find you on something else. And then they get out of you what they want, because they're going to say to you, hey, listen, we don't really want to get you for bank fraud. We know what happened here, Dennis. This was a default. You put it in there. It was a mistake. But at the end of the day, we're still going to come down at you. But really what we want is we really want your father. So why don't you tell us where your father buries the bodies? One of those things. And so that is what is going to wind up happening. These Democrats are all going to start ratting out on each other. You watch, it is going to be a house of cards, and it is going to be better than any Netflix drama we've ever watched.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really name anyone I would even find threatening for 2028. I would say the Gavin Newsom theory, but I don't know. I think this whole California fire thing, in which I know we have a clip coming later about that too.
Ryan, put that to the front. Put that to the front. Put the Harris clip to the front.
Yeah, because we know she's going to be trying to run for governor of that state, and then he's going to probably try and go for president. And I just don't see it happening with him. I think people really woke up to the scam artist that he is. So to your overall point, if they don't even have the face of a leadership right now, well, I don't know what they're going to do. I think they're going to be the ones, as you said, that face implosion.
There was back when the fires were going on, there was Kamala Harris video. It was out there. She was interviewed to kind of explain what it was that the fire was like. I had never seen this video, but for some reason yesterday, it went freaking haywire on. It was like an old video from a week or two ago, whatever, and it went haywire on X. And it came across, and I gave it the time of day. And I said, you know what? I'm putting this in the newsletter, and I'm putting it on the show, even though it's a couple weeks old, because this woman right now, we just reported this on the newsletter yesterday. This woman right now is leading by a huge, wide margin, both for governor of California and 2028 presidential race.
Really?
She is winning. There was just a new poll. I can't remember the name of the poll, to where she is the clear front runner for 2028. I want you to watch this video because Kamala Harris has been out of the news for the last 30 days. I just want to remind everybody of what it is that we escaped. Play the Kamala Harris video about the fire and what she was seeing.
What's your mind when you see this? You're here, you're now seeing it up close.
It's not only seeing it, Alex, you can smell it. You can feel it, right? So it's seeing it with our eyes, and many people have seen it. You all are covering it. But to literally be on the ground here, you can smell the smoke that was here. You can feel the toxicity, frankly, of the environment. You can feel the energy of all of the folks who are still here on the ground.
I mean, could you imagine
if
her?
That was our president.
I was just going to say, can you imagine her in the White House yesterday with Macron, like Trump was with Macron? Can you imagine her right now talking about Ukraine war? She would be sitting there telling everybody, we've got to come up with another $150 billion.
That's what I'm saying. I maybe this is more of reactionary polling to all the liberals freaking out about Trump, but I'd be shocked if they revisit Kamala for 2028. I feel like she's more of the crazy basket for California. But seriously, to your point, if that was our president right now, that's what we'd be hearing every day. Although maybe we wouldn't, because I think they would be a very closed off White House. I think they would even go more sheltered than Biden, because they realize, she would be a mess. They don't really transparency was never the strong suit of the Biden administration.
No.
So I at least like the fact, I know we got the clip coming up now too. We get Trump there sitting with Macron, and, he holds his own. He knows that this is a man that obviously doesn't like him. Most of the European leaders don't like him, but Trump is clearly trying to make, it's kind of clear that on the forefront here, he is trying to make as many moves to get this Ukraine-Russia war over, because, one of his big touts, and everyone I think was kind of skeptical of it, was, and this, war day one. Obviously, that's more of just, rhetoric than actual establishment, but I think he could really, hopefully, get it done by the end of this year, because I know we wrote about it in the 47 report. I don't want to see any more money going to Ukraine at all. We are at such a point right now where we need to start seeing some of the more immediate results, and we want Ukraine to be disconnected from our reality.
Zelensky is in a very tough situation right now, because he is choosing between which way to lose the least. And he has no upside. He's not going to win. He knows he's not going to say anything to Trump to make Trump say, yes, I'm going to stick in there with Ukraine. We're going to do this. Ukraine for Trump is a dead issue, and he wants to get out of it, and he wants to get out of it soon. Now, what he's battling against today, there's a House vote going to happen on the House bill for spending for the budget, and Trump has already supported that. In the Senate, they want to give a ton of money to Ukraine. And so this is going to become a contentious issue. But what Trump is also trying to do, because he's a deal maker and he's a businessman, he's trying to get a whole bunch of the minerals from Ukraine that we want and we need And Zelensky already said, listen, the money that you gave us already, this $100 billion, $500 billion, that's a grant. We don't owe any of that money back. And so what the EU is now doing, they countered last night and said to Ukraine, don't cut that deal, that minerals deal. Don't cut that deal with the United States. We'll give you money. We'll give you a deal. Do a deal with us. So now the EU is going up against the United States. And Zelensky has started to talk negatively about the United States. He's starting to reach out. He's reaching out to Turkey. He's asking everybody because he's realizing the fact that he's losing us. With that in mind, the French president, who I cannot stand, and the French people don't want him, okay? He sits there and tries to explain to everybody that they're not going to get their money back like Trump's trying to say. And Trump basically just takes Macron and body slams him verbally right in front of the press. And that's the part that I love. And we're going to show that clip to you right now. That's the part about Trump that I love the most. And I think where he learned a lot in 1.0 and now in 2.0, he's a different guy. He realizes there is no tomorrow for him in terms of another election. There's nothing to lose. He's leaving nothing on the table. He's going to have no regrets. You say something, whether you're the governor of Maine or you're the leader of France, he doesn't care who you are. You could be Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping. You say something he disagrees with, he is not going to sit there and play political niceness. He is just going to come over you like a bulldozer. And you got a choice. You're either going to coalesce or you're going to get wrecked. Here is a video clip yesterday from the meeting, or at least the press meeting between Macron and Trump.
Will France support the U.S. being compensated?
I support the idea to have Ukraine first being compensated because they are the ones to have lose a lot of their fellow citizens and being destroyed by these attacks. Second, all of those who paid for could be compensated, but not by Ukraine, by Russia, because they were the one to aggress.
Again, just so you understand, Europe is loaning the money to Ukraine. They get their money back.
No, in fact, to be frank, we paid 60% of the total efforts, and it was through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we provided real money. To be clear, we have 230 billion frozen assets in Europe, Russian assets, but this is not as a collateral of a loan because this is not our belonging. So they are frozen. If at the end of the day in the negotiation we will have with Russia, they're ready to give it to us, super. It will be loan at the end of the day and Russia would have paid for that.
If you believe that, it's okay with me.
Mr. President,
if they get their money back, we don't, and now we do. But that's only fair.
Mr. President,
yeah, we don't want to give any more money to Ukraine. That's basically it. It's taxpayers do not. I mean, all the people right now, the thousands of people who will be listening to us, there's not a single person out there who would raise their hand right now if I said, raise your hand if you want to give more of your tax money to Ukraine.
No, and look, has it done anything progressively over there? I mean, they haven't made advancements. They haven't even come close to winning. Some of that money, or I should say most of it, isn't even going to the war front. I mean, a lot of it gets unaccountable or missing. And then we read reports that they're being resold on the black market to cartels. It's clear that the money we're sending to them isn't even productive. So it's just like it's a scheme. It's gotta end. Otherwise, it's gonna just become a further contentious point. And like you said, we're at the stage where it's like, Zelensky, how do you want to lose here? Like, do you want to lose the real hard way, or do you want to lose the way where maybe you could just go back to acting somewhere in Ukraine and get real leadership in there? That would, hopefully the takeaway here is that Trump can convince them to get this done.
Now, here's the nutty part is that the left and left media, all the people that were sitting in that room listening to what it is that Trump and Macron had to say, I read the headlines today, and it's the same thing. They're all protecting Ukraine, saying about how horrible it's going to be for Ukraine, how the United States just can't abandon it. Trump's abandoning it. The United States doesn't do that sort of thing. This is the kind of crap. This is why it is that our money was being stolen from USAID. The media does not do its job. The media was designed to be the fourth estate. It was the fourth pillar. It was what was going to keep people in DC accountable, whether that was the president, the Congress, or the bureaucrats. They were to hold them accountable. Instead, what they've been doing is carrying the water for these people. And we reported yesterday that Joy Reid, who is, as far as I'm concerned, the most racist human being ever to be on television, more racist than David Duke. She is the most racist human being, the most talentless person who was ever put on there. And now she is basically making selfie videos on Instagram. Yesterday, she got on, and it's worth playing. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this is our farewell video to Joy Reid.
Yeah.
The good news is we're never going to have to play her again. Here is the farewell video for Joy Reid in telling you how much value she served to the American people. Go ahead.
My show had value, and that, I'm sorry, that what I was doing had value. And in the end, I'm sorry, I try not to cry on TV. And I think this is kind of like being on TV, so I apologize. And that it mattered. I see Karen is there, and she's been texting me as well. And so what I will just say is that in the end, thank you. Where I land is that the moment of guilt that I felt, that I went hard on so many issues, whether it was the Black Lives Matter issues of a young baby or a mom or a dad that was killed, or when we opened up people's eyes to the fact that Asian Americans were being targeted and not just Black folks, or went hard for immigrants who've done nothing but come to this country like my parents did.
Yeah, it's crazy how things will happen, with reflections. We just talked about how the Democrat Party is in complete disarray, and a reflection of that is these media networks are in complete disarray. We don't have the clip, and it's fine because we don't need to play it. But I saw it this morning. Rachel Maddow, she had opened her show talking about how MSNBC right now, I mean, she blatantly says it, is in complete management disarray. And that's across the network, across these spectrum of networks. It's CBS, PBS, all of it, because they realize that the jig is up. No one believes them. No one takes them for verified credibility at this point. I mean, the 60 Minutes editing clips of Kamala Harris from the election season is a great indicator too. It's just they've gone so far off the meter, and it's funny watching that video of Joy Reid. You maybe almost want to feel bad for her because obviously she's got the sadness over her show. But as I watched that yesterday, immediately I see a clip of her bashing white people right after. I'm like reminded, okay, this is the poison that's kind of infiltrated media content.
I can guarantee you, Dennis, there's nobody watching this program that wants to feel bad for Joy Reid.
No, I know. Trust me.
So,
I'm not saying to.
That said, here's another person I don't feel bad for. Alec Baldwin. So another video that took crazy viral, it went crazy viral yesterday, is Alec Baldwin. For people who are listening, I'm going to set up this clip, okay? Alec Baldwin I think he's either packing up a car to leave or he's unpacking a car, whatever, but he's in the middle of Manhattan. It looks like it's an Uber, and he's got his bags on the ground, and a guy, a comedian guy, a wannabe Trump impersonator, goes up to him and starts talking to him and gives him a hard time. So for those of you who are listening, that's what it is. You're seeing a Trump impersonator get right up into Alec's face. And when I say right up into Alec's face, closer than Dennis and I are sitting across from each other. And finally, Alec Baldwin lashes out at him. It's a little hard to hear, but we'll play it for you, and then we'll tell you what Baldwin said at the end in case you didn't pick up on it. Go ahead, Brian, play the video.
Alec, it's your favorite president. Look, Alec, I will offer you a total pardon, because I want to be friends, right? I want to be friends. I will give you a total pardon for murdering that woman if you kiss the ring. Kiss the ring, Alec. Kiss the big, beautiful ring. Come on, Alec. Come on, look at Alec Baldwin, right? He did that impersonation of me. It was not too hot, not too good. But look, we're back in office. You lost. Kamala lost. She's somewhere getting intoxicated. Look at that suitcase. Unbelievable. Well, Alec, if you don't want that pardon for murdering that woman in cold blood, you can call it first degree. You can call it whatever you want, but it was not good. She's looking down on me right now, smiling, happy. Thank you for confronting the man who took me out, who killed me. And that's okay.
Now, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
You realize, by the way, No, look at me. I want you to
Yeah,
look me in the
sure,
eye.
sure.
You know, you got a camera on me here?
The ring? No, it's the ring.
But you realize my kids live in this building, right? But I want you to know something.
We love the children. We're doing great deals for the children.
Listen to me real careful.
Okay.
If this camera was here, I'd snap your fucking neck in half and break your fucking neck right out. You know that, don't you?
Okay. All right, Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin, ladies and gentlemen, class act. Believe me. Believe me. Okay. Oh, he's yelling at me. I'm a citizen of this. I was born and raised in New York City. I love you, Alec. Alec, look, Alec, you don't want to attack your favorite president, Alec. Look, I love you. I love you, Alec. He's got more balls than De Niro, that I can tell you. De Niro ran away. Alec confronted. That's good. He's strong, but also he's weak because he murdered a woman. So that's okay, right? Look at this guy.
My take on this, Dennis, is twofold. Number one is I have forever said, and I've had my own interaction with Alec Baldwin. You know that he has blocked me on all of his social media, and he was in my very first film called King of the Hamptons. We do not like each other at all. We actually had I wouldn't say that kind of confrontation, although it was going in that direction. One day we had gone face to face in a gym because he was showing me up at my own film at the film festival. You guys were young at the time, but I think he's a complete scum. In fact, I hope he's on Trump's Kash Patel list. But at the end of the day, he is a very angry man, and that comes out right there. If you're a celebrity of that kind and you have had the sort of case history that he has, the best thing to do is get your suitcase and just walk away. And not easy to do. I know it sounds, easier said than done, but that is the world you're in. And so you just wound up escaping from the hair on your chinny chin for murder. Just go walk away. So Baldwin loves confrontation. That's why I can't feel bad for him in this particular case. However, my second take on this is that the comedian or the wannabe Trump impersonator was not funny. And he has no class, and he's an instigator, and he was begging for a confrontation, and therefore I'm gonna side with Baldwin as much as I can't stand Baldwin. I'm gonna side with Baldwin on this one, not for saying that he would break in the guy's effing neck, although I probably would have wanted to say the same thing. But this guy, this Trump impersonator, whoever he is, this Jason kid, not only is he lucky to be walking today, but in addition to that, he gives Trump supporters a very bad name. He makes us, because we're going to all be guilty by association, and it makes the movement look unhinged. And people like this are actually just as bad, as far as I'm concerned, as the people who got pink hair and start screaming at the top of their lungs in the middle of the square and spray paint on our statues.
Yeah, and just I don't like that, he's invoking that, the woman who was killed, her name.
Yeah.
I have this
joke.
theory that how some actors in the long run ultimately regret like a certain role, like Harrison Ford kind of regrets doing Star Wars. I think Alec Baldwin, I'm sure he's got lots of regrets, but I think he ultimately regrets doing the whole Trump impersonator gig on SNL. Over time he stopped going and doing it, but it kind of like he hates Trump, but yet that's what he became known for, was doing the Trump impersonation. And I know over time he started to comment about it, like he wanted to get past it. I'll give him credit. Like sometimes like his impersonations were funny, but that's all he's going to be, kind of known for now. And I bet you that it's one of those things he regrets doing the role.
It's funny you bring that up. I never thought of him from that perspective, but I would say this: as much as I hate Baldwin, and he was rude to us, he was rude to our family, whatever. I've always found him to be a good actor. He could swing it. He could be funny. He could be dramatic. He could be tough. He could be whatever.
He's from one of our favorite movies, the Malice movie.
Yeah,
yeah.
So he's talented in that lens. And your mother and I would sit down and we watch a movie, and if Baldwin's in it, I don't like him, but I'm still going to look at him as an actor. When he started doing the stuff to Trump on SNL, he wasn't allowed in my house anymore.
Yeah.
If he was in a great movie and it said Alec Baldwin, I'd say to your mother, go past it. I ain't watching it. And because it's such a level of disrespect to the president. With that in mind, you are probably right. He probably regrets it. He probably regrets a lot of things, like you said. But I go back to this young man who's trying to make a name for himself. I mean, there's other ways of doing it without going up to somebody and intimidating them. And when I see that kind of video, it makes me think of Black Lives Matter. It makes me think of Antifa. It makes me think of these thugs who go up and do things like that to people who have a MAGA hat on. And so when I see something like this, that's why I decided to play it today, to basically say to other people, don't encourage that. If you see that online, I've seen some people say, oh, Alec Baldwin's a total scumbag, whatever. I know, there's no doubt. But don't justify this kid's behavior, because it's completely, it's un-American, and it's not what the MAGA movement is about. It's not at all. And you don't want to be found guilty by association. With that said about MAGA movement, there is a wave that's happening. We reported this in the 47 report. States. This is how it is that this beautiful movement spreads. It's going from a national level to now a state level. Vivek Ramaswamy, who I'm no fan of, but at the end of the day, there are a lot of people who are. He announced yesterday that he is going to officially run for governor. He has started his own campaign, and he wound up getting endorsed from both Trump and Elon Musk. Then in the newsletter, if you could find it, Dennis, there was in Utah. Utah now is doing something where they're following with the water, with fluoride in the water.
Yeah, it's. I'll even read the bullet point verbatim. Inspired by Health and Human Services Secretary RFK Jr., the Utah legislature passed a bill proposing to ban fluoride from public drinking water across the state. If signed into law by Governor Cox, Utah will be the first state to implement such a ban.
So what's happening now is that the Trump administration is having such success that states are starting to look at this, and governors in states are looking at this and saying, I'm going to follow that same path. And that is how you truly make America great again, because the federal government can only do so much. States have to basically jump on board. A prime example is Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis has now launched his own DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, his own DOGE. So he is now going to have a team, and I didn't see who's on the team, but I'd be curious to see the players in this. He is now launching the same sort of thing to go in and look in deep within the cracks of the Florida government, which means that this state, which as far as I'm concerned is the best state there is in the union, is only going to get better. And the other thing that DeSantis is doing, and I will tell you right now, I'm a huge DeSantis fan in terms of him being the best governor in my lifetime, and I think the best governor in the union right now. But DeSantis is trying to write his own playbook based on what it is that he's watching Trump do. He is basically copying all of Trump's plays. And look, flattery, right? The best thing is imitation, right? Imitation is the greatest flattery there is. DeSantis is trying to come up with his own stuff here. He is serious. And I mean, if he does this with taxes, this is going to start a ripple effect throughout the United States. The other thing it's going to do, it's going to create mass migration to Florida here because people are going to leave. He is serious about ending property tax in the state of Florida. That would be, I mean, if we start doing these things like Trump's getting rid of the IRS, or at least the way the IRS does things, getting rid of the Department of Education, we get rid of taxes, property taxes. I love it.
He's got my vote till the end of time. If he does that,
listen,
I'll vote for term limits 10.
Long live the king. Long live the king of
because
Florida.
It's true.
Play the clip of DeSantis. We're going to do a little DeSantis stuff right now. Play the clip of DeSantis talking about taxes, Ryan.
Subject their citizens to higher taxes, such as higher property taxes, to pay for these spending habits. And these property taxes, it's like you buy a home, you buy land, maybe you buy the home outright, but maybe you pay off a mortgage over 30 years. And then, okay, you've paid off the mortgage, you bought the land, you've been taxed many times. It's like, is it your property or not? Just for being on your property, you got to write a check to the government every year. So you're basically paying rent to the government to live on your own property. And our homestead exemption is not strong enough to help these folks because the property gets assessed so high. And that's the thing. If you buy a home for $300,000 and you know there's certain tax, well, then what? 10 years later, they say it's worth $700,000. And so, and they say, you know, there's homestead stuff that helps protect you to a certain extent, but you're paying more. And a lot of people can't afford that. So I think that that's a big issue. And I know we're going to be really looking at ways to bring people relief from that, because I think it's been really something that's pinching a lot of homeowners, particularly seniors on fixed income. But the reality is people have seen, and this is not the state, we don't control this, you know, we've not allowed any of that stuff to happen. We've been cutting taxes, but people have seen their property tax liability go up over these last years because the property is being assessed higher and higher. And the reality is you don't really know how much your home is worth until someone offers you money and is willing to pull the trigger on a sale. That's how a market works.
No, I'm going to comment on this in various different ways because I think a lot of people can relate to what it is I'm about to say here. First of all, taxation, the way it's all established, is a penalty. That's what I think. It's a penalty. The more successful you are, the more money you have to pay. It doesn't make sense. It should go the other way around. If you're a job creator, you should be able to pay less taxes. If you are somebody who puts a lot of money into the economy by going out to restaurants and spending things, you should pay less taxes. If you are somebody who doesn't have a child in the school system, you're still paying the same amount of money as somebody who has 9 kids in the school system. It is completely broken. It is not a fair system. In addition to that, and I remember having this conversation at a dinner party. Ryan was there, and I was getting in a heated debate with my friends. And one of my friends had said, the greatest investment that you could ever make is in your home. And I said, I disagree with you on that. It may be your most expensive asset, but at the end of the day, it's not your best investment. He says, well, why is that? And I said, because you truly never own your home. If you buy your home for $1 million, let's just say it's $1 million, and you put down $500,000, and the other $500,000 is owed to the bank really owns your home. But let's say, for instance, another way. Let's say, for instance, you buy your home outright for $1 million. You got $1 million home. Well, ultimately, you don't own that home because if you didn't pay your tax bill, the state is going to take away your home. You're going to lose your home. So you don't really own that. The state owns it. The bank owns it. So it's a fluff piece. And so the other part of this, and I know a lot of people listening here will know what I'm talking about. I mean, I talked to your mother. We live in a very nice home. We've been very fortunate when we moved here to Florida. We bought our home cheap compared to what it is today. It's doubled in value in the last 4 years. But my taxes, my property taxes are $32,000 a year. And I'm getting to a situation now where, you know, I'm starting to talk about I want to retire. And I said to your mother, we're not going to be able to live here. And she said, why? I said, because the minute I retire and I no longer have income coming in, I can't pay those property taxes. So think about that. All the money and time and effort and passion and love we've put into our home, your mother and I will not be able to keep it because there's a $32,000 tax bill that's only going to go up. That is a crime. That is wrong. So your mother and I, just like many people out there, are going to wind up having to downsize, not because we want a smaller place to manage. We have a big family. It would make sense because your mother says it to me all the time. Well, what about when the kids have grandkids? We want to have a big house like this. I said, well, we're not going to be able to afford it. We can't afford the taxes. I could afford the landscaper at a couple of $100 a month. I could afford the electric bill. I can't afford the taxes. The taxes alone are $3,000 a month. So when DeSantis talks about this sort of thing, if he can change that, if he does that, he puts himself back in the running for being a major candidate, whether it's in 2028 or beyond that, because the one thing that he has done over and over again in Florida is proven, A, he never has any sort of conflicts with the people he hires. You never hear him firing people. You never hear about him having any kind of scandals. And then on top of that, every single last thing this guy has done for Florida has been absolutely sensational. And think about this as I pass this over to you, because you too now are a homeowner and you know what it's like to have to pay taxes. Imagine what happens in the state of Florida if people like me, instead of having a $32,000 tax bill, let's say, for instance, everybody just had to pay a flat contribution of $2,000 a year to the state. We'd be fine, right? Why is it that I can't have that other money to spend? If I had it to spend, everything else would go around. I'd wind up spending it anyway on things that were out, restaurants, vacations, everything else in Florida, cars. I'd wind up paying sales tax. So the money's going to go right back in, but it's a choice. It's not a penalty. It is a choice. I benefit from this, and so does everybody else. It would create such higher paying jobs. It would create so much opportunity for the state. I really hope he gets this done.
I think it's the perfect bridge to returning to that concept of owning the white picket fence. I mean, HOA fees alone across a lot of places in Florida have gotten insanely out of hand. So you couple that now with rising property taxes, that the bills get ridiculous. And I would rather, instead of putting that money to that, especially once, whether it's a mortgage situation, but to your point, once it's paid off, that should be it. You should own it. That goes to the concept of work hard, own the land. You're an American citizen. You own what you worked for. And the fact that we still don't have that, because it's like, well, asterisk, as long as you pay your property taxes, and as soon as you can't, it's actually not yours anymore. That's crazy. And if Ron DeSantis can really accomplish eliminating that and even getting other things down, like, I mean, insurance has gone insane in this state too.
Yeah.
So, but it's still, in my opinion, one of the best states to live in when you have something comparable to, I mean, New York City's touting the fact that they just got the Roosevelt Hotel to be a hotel again. So, where I'll take Florida for what it is with its problems, but I think what Ron has been able to do with a lot of things to get the state really deep red the way it is too. We have a clip that even comes up that it can very easily change from that. I mean, I wanted to stay deep red, but we can also see it go purple real quick too. So we gotta make it where it's a state to strive for and could be the blueprint for the rest of the country.
The clip that Dennis is referring to, and Ryan, we're going to skip the lines here. The clip that he's referring to is of his wife, Casey. There is a lot of conversation right now about who's going to be the next governor of Florida. It is the most important state there is in the union. And Casey DeSantis is somebody who is being touted by a lot of folks. Here is a little sliver of a speech that she gave. And if you don't see somebody who's positioning herself to run for governor, I don't know who is. Go ahead.
While we are leading here in the state of Florida, I would say, and this is true, even with a Republican supermajority and the GOAT in the governor's office, none of this here runs on autopilot. The wins in Florida and, frankly, the sanity and the freedom that we enjoy in the free state of Florida, unfortunately, are not guaranteed in perpetuity. With the left and the special interests wanting to impose their will, especially like usurping the legislature and perverting our state constitutional amendment process, which you recently saw, or squishes wanting to go Republican light by continuing to spend on massive boondoggles and not implementing the will of the people, Florida could very easily revert back to a purple state. So what's the moral of the story? You have to lead. You have to have courage. You have to show that our way works. You enact bold policies and you hold yourself accountable. Because if we do this, we will continue to be a model for the nation, we will be a beacon of hope for the world, and we will continue to stay the free state of Florida. Thank you, Dr. Atlas, for the opportunity.
Yeah, she's going to be a force. I'm going to tell you that right now. And Ron DeSantis is not going to want to give up his political power. He's going to want to stay in there. And yet, you could get ready. This is going to be a battle, and it's going to be a battle probably in the next 6 months. It's going to come up because that's when candidates start to really view in on, here's what I have to do in order to run. And obviously that speech right there is a position of, I'm going to run for governor. But Donald Trump has already put his weight, if you will, behind Byron, I can never say his name the right way, Byron Donalds. And DeSantis has a thing to say about him as well. Play that video.
My view is Donald Trump just got into office. I want these congressmen focused on enacting his agenda. They haven't done very much yet. They're not putting his executive orders into place. We'll see what they do on the spending. But we have such a narrow majority that to be trying to campaign other places and missing these votes, I think is not something that's advisable at all. And so the reality is, we've achieved victories in Florida. We need to start achieving those victories up there. So I think people look at it and say, you got a guy like Byron, he just hasn't been a part of any of the victories that we've had here over the left over these last years. He's just not been a part of it. He's been in other states campaigning, doing that, and that's fine. But okay, well then deliver results up there. That's what I want to see. I want to see them delivering results for the people of Florida. We deliver it here all the time for the people of Florida, and that's what we need to be doing. And so, I've said I'm going to be, raising money. We're going to be looking to have somebody that's going to be able to continue and build off the success that we've had here in Florida.
I agree with him, Dennis. Byron Donalds, I'm not a huge fan. In fact, I don't like his background.
Yeah.
And I appreciate how he talks about Trump. He's a great advocate for Trump. And I think he should have gotten himself a spot within the administration because I think he would be a great ambassador for that. The people of Florida, I do not think are going to coalesce around Byron. I think they're going to coalesce around Casey.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I think if you're on the outside, meaning like not living in Florida, you see what Trump's saying about Byron and maybe you don't know enough about him. You're like, oh, if Trump says it, it's great. But as I've said on the show before, we don't always agree with Trump. And I'm not a big fan of Byron's background. In fact, if anyone really wants to look into it, look at his reaction during the George Floyd issue. I mean, the way his approach with it, I would totally disagree. So he supported Kamala Harris. Yeah, he's got some secret liberalism in that sense. And
well, he used to be a liberal, and he was also arrested.
Right, he was arrested.
He's got an ugly background.
He's got the track record that I would not be impressed by.
No.
If anything, I think that's more of Trump maybe giving the good old back to the shoulder support because he did not choose Donalds for his administration, which I just opened up. That's always an indication of he didn't find him to be any suitable role for a job. But I'm just saying.
I don't know if I agree with you on that one exactly. I mean, you may have a point on that, but I believe that they probably sat down and he said, "I want to run for governor. That's really what I want to be." And Trump said, okay, then that's what it is. Byron Donalds has been riding Trump's coattails and kissing some serious buttocks for a long time. And I think he has had the idea of running for a governor for a lot longer than people have been talking about it for. It's going to be a very, very interesting thing because what I don't want to see, and this is where I think the important part of this conversation is because the governor race is far off. What I don't want to see is I don't want to see Trump and DeSantis go back to war again. And that's where this is headed because Trump is going to defend Donalds. And obviously you just saw what he just said there. I mean, DeSantis nicely and sort of like passionately, quiet passion, said that, Byron's not doing anything for the state of Florida.
Yeah,
he's going to get pushed back
think
on that.
Just Trump is wrong on this one. So I don't think Byron would be a good governor. I don't even think he would be so much as a contender as a Gates versus Casey DeSantis. But in all three of those, right? Gates, Byron, Casey, and from the sounds of it, I know there was another clip, but we didn't have time. The way Ron describes the way her stances are, he says that, with during a lunch with Rush Limbaugh before his passing, Rush had come up to him. He's like, if I were to vote for you for governor, I'd be voting for her. And Rush had joked, most politicians' wives will gravitate their husband more to center and left, where she is like the opposite. She's even a little bit more conservative than Ron, apparently. So I'm impressed by her. I think if she were to follow that suit, she would, just as a Florida resident, and that's why I would comment on it, she would have my support. That's not to bash Byron. I just don't think his role would be leading this state.
I'll tell you right now, in terms of the way you just planted that seed, it would be, in my choice, Casey first, Gates second, Byron third. Yeah. And I'm not a Matt Gates fan. That kind of tells you how much with Byron. Byron Donalds is great at getting on Fox News and making sound bites.
Yeah. But
that's not what a governor is. So he hasn't really done a whole lot. Like he just said, like what bills has he had? Like what is he championed for other than Trump? Yeah. At least Gates has been up there. I mean, I haven't agreed with everything he's done, but he's a firecracker. He's up there trying to get bills passed. He's doing all this different stuff. I know if he gets into Florida, it's not going to be for him about getting another spot on Fox News. It's going to be about running the country, about running the state. With Byron, I'm just not sold. But like I said, the bigger thing for me is I don't want to see a fight between Trump and DeSantis, because that's how the beauty breaks. And right now we got a lot of beauty.
Well, my hope is, and the reason I think we're on the topic is because there's no doubt that Florida has become the Republican stronghold in a way. I mean, in a almost funny retort side kind of way, the second White House is in Florida. You know, I mean, Mar-a-Lago has become almost equally equivalent to the White House in terms of the meetings he's had there. So, you know, I would hope that Trump is going to look at the healthiness of Florida's future with the electorate, rather than, you know, try and just have a 2.0 war with DeSantis. But yeah,
well,
we'll see how that plays out.
We'll see what happens. With that being said, just want a reminder that this show now is at 10 a.m. and we changed it to 10 a.m. We were doing 9:30 for the longest time. Before that, we were doing 11 o'clock. But we are going to lock in for the rest of the year at 10 a.m. And it will go from 10 a.m. to usually about 11:05, because we do about an hour and 5 minutes. And the reason being is because the newsletter is taking up so much of our time. It is impossible for us to get all the clips done and everything else here at 9:30. So we're going to move to 10 a.m. We're going to lock in at 10 a.m. So whether you're watching us on Rumble, whether you're watching us on Facebook, X, or Team DML, it's 10 a.m. every single day, starting today, going into tomorrow, you name it, for as long as God gives us the breath to speak. That's the way it's going to be. And don't forget, 47report.com. Go to 47report.com and sign up. And every time you see us on Facebook or X or on Rumble, it really helps us when you hit the share button. I can't tell you how much it helps when you hit the share button. Last but not least, if you want to help support us, go to dmlcbd.com/mug, M-U-G. Use the code LIFE, L-I-F-E, to save 10% and to get free shipping for the Life After 50 mug. This is the new show that I've been doing on weekends. People are raving about it. I appreciate in a big way that you've been watching the interviews. I interview people who are 50 years old and older, talk about all their great, amazing stories. And actually this week, I'm actually going to be the guest. Dennis is going to be interviewing me. And then next week, I will have my wife on, and that will be sort of the first season one, if you will, of Life After 50. So make sure you tune into that, where Dennis and I are going to be talking about my career and making films, and then the future maybe of politics. It's going to be a very interesting conversation. So with that said, we appreciate your time today. Make sure that you check out 47report.com. And don't forget, later today around 4:30, 5 o'clock, you'll get DML Report in your inbox. Open these. Make sure you open these and even respond to them, or take the rating. We always ask you to do a rating. If you interact with the newsletter, you almost guarantee that it will never be sent to your spam. So take the 2 seconds, give it a 5-star or 4-star, whatever you think it is, and know that it's going to be in your inbox. That's it for us. Enjoy the rest of your day, and may God bless you, your family, these United States, President Trump, and Vice President Vance.
And today's Team DML blessing goes out to Mary Guillory.
All right, Mary, enjoy it.
Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and Team DML.